Yo, what's up sleepers? It's your boy, Head, and today we're going to be doing a book review. A book recommended to me by TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. They clearly needed a shout out from me. Duh. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of TikTok. It's a little unknown app right now. You should really get on it. All jokes aside, the book that was recommended to me by TikTok is called The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And I'm going to divide this review into two segments. The first part will be a spoiler-free review, while the second part will contain spoilers in it, because I'll be breaking down the story a little bit more. So let's jump into it, shall we, you gods and goddesses? So, The Song of Achilles is not only the story of Achilles' life and legacy, but also his companion, Patroclus, and it is actually very beautifully written from the perspective of Patroclus. I love that the author chose to write from this character's perspective because he's a very introverted character. The whole book, it felt like the whole world was against him. It makes the character that much more relatable. Because of the conditions since his birth, he's always kind of felt unloved and out of place, which makes his feelings for Achilles that much more intriguing because he doesn't know how to express himself, just like many introverts don't. And I happen to be one of them. And if you don't already know, in this story, Patroclus and Achilles form a kind of relationship together, as was kind of alluded to in the original writing of the Iliad, which I'll get more into that later. Anyway, because of ancient Greek society, they kind of had to hide their feelings for one another. I did a little bit of research into it, and apparently it was common for same-sex relationships to happen as long as they weren't made public, which obviously is really messed up. People should just be with whoever they want. So because of those societal pressures, there are some issues that came up in the story because of that. But there are a lot of moments where they're genuinely happy together, and that makes all the traumatic experiences that much more heartbreaking. You can truly sense a connection between the two characters and the conflicts. And it starts to take a turn for the worse when Achilles starts to focus more on his legacy and his image more than those around him. And while there is a focus on the relationship between these two in the story, there is also some action scenes in the book, so if you're into that, good for you, because this takes place during the Trojan War, so you'll get to read about some cool battles. But I mean, that's all I really want to say with it being spoiler free. So I want to thank the author for writing this incredible story. The author happened to reignite my interest into Greek mythology. I haven't felt this excited about it since I read Percy Jackson in elementary school. I've been so into Greek mythology that I've been reading the Iliad, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I've even been watching the movie Troy. So yeah, I've pretty much gone full nerd mode on the whole mythological stuff. Now, before I read this book, I will give a trigger warning. This takes place in ancient Greece, where the treatment of women was not great at all. Although nothing is stated outright, it is alluded to in that some essay or R-word things happen to women in this story. So if that's not something you're comfortable reading, I would consider avoiding this book, or maybe having a supportive person next to you while you read it. But I mean, obviously nobody blames the author for that. She's just retelling the story as it was in ancient Greece. So it was really more the culture's fault. Not that that makes it okay. But other than that, it's an amazing story, and I give it a 4.8 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend this book, and I know they sell it at Barnes & Noble, not a sponsor. But if you don't have time to read it, or you're always on the go like me, then there is a really great version on Audible where they'll read it to you. And the narrator they chose on Audible is amazing. There really is no better narrator than that one because he's just that good. He read it so beautifully. So please check this book out because it is great. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to smash that like button, comment down below what you'd like me to review next, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Now, on to the spoiler-filled review. I do feel bad for Patroclus. It seemed like he was always getting the short end of the stick. His mother wasn't really allowed to love him, and his father hated him. And even though he was a prince, no one really seemed to respect him. So when Achilles came into his life, or rather, when Patroclus came into Achilles' life, it was so much more amazing. Achilles actually saw Patroclus and basically showed him time and again early on in the book that he was worth having as a friend. Achilles constantly wanted Patroclus by his side, even though initially Patroclus didn't see his worth. Even though Patroclus did end up becoming the best character in the book. So once the two actually got comfortable with each other, it was really hard to see them have to kind of hide their relationship. That is, once they found out about their love for each other. Now, I can't claim, nor do I claim, to know what it's like to hide your feelings for someone when society doesn't want you to express those feelings publicly. I'm a straight man, so I can't imagine the burden that gay people have to live through in facing many societies, even here in America today. So on that note, I really do hope that the world grows to accept people as they are and stops caring about who they want to be with. So although I can never really understand the struggle, and I do sympathize, and I do like how this story made me more aware of that situation happens today in real life. Now, there were many parts where Achilles wanted to put his relationship out there in the world, unafraid of anything, but Patroclus and really his mother were the ones against it, because they both just wanted to protect his legacy, and they saw that if they came out, it would be tainted, which led to its own set of issues that I'll explain later. I also liked how they trained under Chiron, and Achilles' mother was a goddess, because that's like all the mythological stuff, right? And yet that wasn't the central point of the story. It's like these mythological creatures were just secondary to the human nature that was going on in the story, which I thought was really great. There's so much that I want to dive into in this spoiler-filled section, but I'll just try and keep it brief. But I am open to discuss it in the comment section if anyone wants to talk about the book once they've read it. Anyway, we initially see when Achilles is forced to put his feelings aside in order to protect his legacy, he's actually really hurt by this at first. When he's forced onto an island by his mother in disguise, and he's basically also forced to conceive a child with a willing princess of the island. A princess who he doesn't care for. So once Patroclus finds this out, he's obviously jealous, but Achilles reassures him and tells him that he didn't do it by choice. But the part that trips me up is the part with Patroclus where he confronts the princess. It was definitely a WTF moment for me, and I want to see how you guys feel about that. Eventually the Trojan War begins, and this is when we see Achilles himself by choice put his legacy over the lives of others. And in order to understand why, maybe we had to think about it in terms of warfare. I mean, he is on the battlefield and he is killing people every day, because Patroclus definitely notices a difference in him. And it's hard for him to think that someone he loves is out there killing people, even if it is for a war. And I think that part is hard to deal with. Although I have not personally experienced it, I have done a little research in the effects of men coming home from war. How wives and families notice a drastic difference in these men, almost changing completely who they used to be. And even in ancient times, I think post-traumatic stress was like kind of glossed over. But the part that is really horrible is the part where Achilles lets his fellow Greeks die. People that Patroclus really cares about, because he's grown to know each and every one of them. But what's more painful is when he's willing to give up Briseis, a woman whom Patroclus actually loved. Maybe not as much as Achilles, but he still really cared for her. He was willing to risk his life for her. It was really heartbreaking just to see Achilles willingly give her up in order to protect the legacy that he so desperately wanted. A legacy that would literally be the death of Patroclus. Now, this is a twist I knew that was coming because I have read parts of the Iliad before. It's a common story, but I was not prepared for it to hurt so much. We spend the whole story under the perspective of this character, Patroclus, who doesn't really value himself and doesn't see his worth, and yet at the end of it, he is like the best character in the whole book, and he ended up dying heroically. And yet, even after death, he was still getting screwed over. But eventually, Achilles' mother did grow to accept him in a way and let him pass on into the afterlife, where he would join Achilles and Briseis. So it seemed like both men were never really happy with the circumstances they were forced into, and so their destinies really hit you hard in the face. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, comment down below on what your favorite part of the book is, and make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, stay woke, sleepers. Peace!